Hey everyone, I'm here with Cloud9's head coach mCe right before the start of VCT Americas League. So, first question I just want to ask you, what has the past month looked like for you following VCT lock-in? How have you been handling some of that stress?
Obviously, it has been a little stressful in terms of things. We haven't had a lot of time. We unfortunately had to replace 2 players, and so most of our focus has been trialing new talent, looking for people, seeing what fits, what might work best for our team, and then finding those people and going from there.
Mm-hmm. How has that process been going right now? How are you kind of dividing up some of the scrim blocks, introducing some of these 2 new players in these tryouts?
Basically, we ran 2 rosters. Our 6-man, my main man in charge, Cooper, and they were playing with a extended group to see, we didn't have enough time to run extensive trials, so it was it was important to get through as many people as possible, and I trust Cooper's judgment on a lot of things, where he was in the trials as well, to try to identify players that I was I have a list of 10 or 12 people that it's I want to see all these people through, but I'm not going to have time for them to play with the main roster. So we're going to do this, spend extra days, watching them where the main guys didn't play on a Saturday or Sunday. And then just trying to give equal blocks for the guys that showed promise in terms of, who had the best results with the guys, who had, did well, who calmed well, who, were people that I believe could slot in and do well. And so basically just trying to identify those players as quickly as possible, weeding some of the guys out, giving the players that showed promise more blocks, and then going from there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I want to ask you about that in terms of maybe some of the role stuff, because that was, I guess, a question mark back with the previous roster with 2 duelists. So with this one, Vandy's no longer in the lineup. Azelsis has had some experience in secondary IGLing. Mm-hmm. I just want to ask, are one of these 2 new players going to be a new IGL, or is it going to be someone already in Cloud9 that slots into that role?
Okay. I think we have tried out both people that are IGLs and, that are not IGLs. Mm-hmm. The benefit is the 3 guys we have left on the team all are very good at mid-rounding and helping out with an IGL, so that's going to help us a lot. Jordan Zelsis does have experience IGLing in the past, and that's an option we might go as well. But wish list, we find another IGL that also plays certain roles or whatnot to help us out. Mm-hmm. But you don't always get what you wish for. But we've had some really promising people play with us.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you're allowed to comment, but something that's been rumored on in media is that it's Rooney and Jake that are going to be on the lineup. Is that something you can confirm?
I can't confirm anything at this point. So the last report I knew, Nerve was signed with us too, and so, but no, we've been through a lot of really talented guys that unfortunately I can't reveal anything in terms of that.
Would I just be able to ask how those 2 new players, if you have them, have been adjusting into the team? And I guess I want to also ask you, because you were talking about how you're going to be scrimming multiple people. Are these going to be players that are kind of set into the team, or are you going to still be playing around with some of the other players in circulation?
Okay. No, once we come to who we're going to play with, those guys will be the guys we play with. Yeah. There's always, room for evaluation or whatnot, but, that's just these guys whoever comes in will have that is going to be our roster, whether that's Cooper plus 2, or Cooper plus 1, whether that's 2 people, whether that's whatever, those will be our roster that we'll stick with and try to make that work.
Yeah. I actually also just wanted to ask you about your philosophies on finding some of the players. Mm-hmm. When we spoke, when you were with the guard, you were the one that recognized Trent and replaced him with Sam, primarily for his utility usage. Yep. It just felt advanced. When you were looking for some of the players with Cooper, what were you specifically looking out for in a player that you felt okay, he can do this, he has potential?
I think one of the biggest things is just attitude in general, in terms of, there's so many talented players out there, but it's if you're talented, you have a bad day, are you going to stop talking? Are you going to shut down? Like, if I try to critique you or one of the guys gets upset with you, is that going to affect you? Like, am I going to see you snap back? Am I going to see you, ignore what they're trying to help you with? And there's like certain personality types that I believe are like very successful just in general, not even including, games. And so I have a very like wish list checklist of things that it's like, if there's 10 traits, I want to find at least 6 in them to like consider this person. And I just believe that, the younger generation coming out, that I've seen some of these kids do outrageous things. I mean, if you look at the top of tier 1, pretty much worldwide, 2 years ago, a very significant portion of the people that are top players today weren't known or on top teams or anything like that. So it's like, there is talent out there. You just have to kind of go looking, and you have to get a little lucky sometimes, but you can't get lucky or find those people unless you're willing to, dig through that to find them. So
I want to actually ask you about that 6 out of 10 or those 10 qualities. Are certain qualities some that outweigh others, or do you feel like you view all of them equally?
I feel like some would outweigh, others more. Obviously, being a, social person, interacting with your teammates, the way you speak to, not only your boss, but also like random people with content, or, just being out in public with them, servers, restaurant, like just general demeanor a lot of the time. And like, I don't think they're weighed that much heavier, but there are some that you look out for that you're like, okay, like this guy, did these 3 things and I just met him. Like, it's probably not a good look, because most people will try to hide their intentions to like look as good as they can for the, but they can't hide it forever. And so that's what you're kind of looking for, is like, do they show, character? Do they show, kindness, different things like that? Do they want to work? Do they want to get better? Like, what have their teammates that liked them said? What has their teammates that hated them said? Like, what have their past coaches said? Do the coaches' statements match up with like everything? So like, there's a lot of like background work where, I asked for a scrim VOD of them doing bad, of them doing really good, and of them playing normal, so I can see the difference in, their communication, like how they're talking to teammates, how teammates are talking to them. Like, was the atmosphere good, that they performed well? Like, are people making them look better? There's a lot that goes into it that is, just blanketed, that they're like, oh yeah, they're just trying out this, tier 3 guy. It's like, well, actually, multiple people have been successful from that level. And if you look for certain things, or like, these guys aren't accidentally here. Like, people didn't know who, some of the bigger names in the game are, except the people that watch tier 2 and tier 3. And they're like, no, this guy's actually good. And everyone's like, no, they're terrible. And then they start playing, and you're like, holy shit, this guy's actually really fucking good. So like, the checklist is like a wish list, where it's like, I hope to find as many of these traits as possible, but weight wise, I think they're all similar. Some are a little higher. Obviously, like, being kind to people, or like not a dickhead all the time, is pretty important. So
I want to ask you now kind of about the culture that you're creating at Cloud9 on the guard, and just previously in CSGO as well. You had a certain system for things, and it felt like the guard was under the system where it's kind of fit a lot of your philosophies. With this Cloud9 lineup, do you feel like it's very similar to what you're doing with the guard? And if not, what are some of the differences in your coaching structure with this team?
I think approach-wise, it's similar. Player-wise, it's, pretty different, but these guys are veterans in the game. It's a little bit different working with people like that, where the young guys are, hungry. They'll buy into a system. They'll be like, okay. And like, setting expectations for them early, where the, guys on Cloud9, they've been around a while. It's like, they know when we go to content or something, they're like, okay, put on a smile, make sure we do, like, give effort, things like that. Where like, with a bunch of young guys, if you set that as the precedent, it's very easy for them to get better. And you see that with the guard guys now, that it's like, their content's great, they're all great on camera, but like at the beginning, they were like anybody else. Like they weren't great at talking in front of the camera, but through pushing them and being like, this is what's expected, like, let's try to do this, they're fantastic now. So like, the new guys we're bringing in, we'll push that on them, and then the old guys hopefully seeing the young guys, that enjoyment, that deer in the headlights look, that they're like, oh, I've never done this. Like, hopefully that brings it out of the veteran guys as well, because they're like, oh shit, like this is fun. We should be having more fun with this, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to close it out and then ask you, are there any final statements that you want Cloud9 fans to know, as well as maybe expectations that you want to set going into the first couple of weeks of the Americas League? Like, what do you want people to know that, I guess, what would you want them to know going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is have some faith in what we're doing. We're like, everyone thinks we're going to be really bad. We're not going to be bad. I think the intention is to compete, whether people believe that or not, through changes. And obviously we have big shoes to fill in the terms of people that are getting replaced. But like, we're not phoning in a performance. Like, we're going to put in effort every week. We're going to get better and better, and we're going to be competitive. Like, there's no way around that.
Awesome, mCe. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.